And the two of us have got a smile from ear to ear with this week's Round 23 review with the lace-out team of Jamie the J-Dog Wallis and yours truly, Christopher the Peps Pepper. I've never actually said that the entire time I've rolled this out. I've never said it that way. But hey, big fella, what a cracking week of football. YouTube went absolutely bananas last week. The podcast went absolutely bananas last week. So for everybody who listened and subscribed, if you haven't, subscribe now and make sure that you ring the bell. We thank every single one of you for joining us in this AFL journey. We're getting into the last week of AFL footy, J-Dog, for 10 teams. And it's going to be a sad time until they hit the nightclubs in Ibiza, and then all will be forgotten. But it's great to have you on board again. We've got so much to talk about, so much to get into. But more importantly, how have you been?
I've been very well. It's been a it's been a month. It's been a heck of a week of football. I feel exhausted. I think we're ready for some finals, Peps.
I think we're ready too, mate. I think we're ready for finals. I think we're ready to spin some magnets. We're ready to have a massive discussion because there's no head of football at the moment in the AFL.
So what's on the show tonight?
Well, I'm about to tell you. We're going to have a massive discussion. If we were in control of the AFL, what would we change? Right now, what would we change? Anything that we want to. We're going to get deep into that one later on. We've got the ladder. We've got the Fantail will be back. We've got Journey to the Draft. We're going to spin the magnets. We've got all the fan favourites and also plenty of people joining us live on the chat and plenty of people joining us for chats on the YouTube channel as well too. So it's going to be a chock-a-block episode full of upsets last week, full of upset people, full of upsets football-wise, and some decisions I've got no idea what happened whatsoever. But we're all going to get into that. Before we do, what was your big takeout? What was your number one thing that struck you this weekend?
Ooh, number one thing that struck me this weekend. Great question, Peps. It's the uncertainty of the top four.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Okay, in the fact that you don't know how it's going to finish off at the end of the year?
By this time, you sort of get a feel for what it is, but there are teams outside the four that are playing well, and there are teams inside the four that are looking shaky.
Exactly right. I can't wait to have a chat about it because it's going to be into this game, and we're going to get into that a little bit more in next week's mega pre-finals bye-weekend episode. So stay tuned for that. But hey, big fella, let's get the big one out of the way. It is the ladder. We know we have to have a look at it because it has gone absolutely nutsoid this weekend with just lots of changes, lots of things happening. And the thing that blows my mind, and I can't figure this one out for you, I'm not even going to start at the top. I'm starting at the bottom. What in the hell were West Coast thinking? They had everything at their disposal. They had the AFL world to ransom. They had that number one pick. They had a guy that didn't want to go to Perth. And they foobarred it to beat the Western Bulldogs away. Now, it's great to get a win, but what were you thinking? You could have got anything for him, and now you could be getting pick 3 rather than pick 1.
Yeah, the kind of... Look, we don't like to talk about teams tanking. We don't like to talk about teams manipulating the draft, but you could have split that into pick whatever you wanted.
You could have had 3 first-rounders, I reckon, 2 this year and a future. You know what? They've tanked all year, and when it gets time to tank, there's no tank. Here, no tank, Robbo. No tank whatsoever.
Maybe they lack the balls, Peps.
Oh, they have you seen some of the scores? They lacked balls throughout the entire season. But look, let's go from the top. Collingwood, another loss on the weekend to the second-place team, the Brisbane Lions, on 64. If they lose to Essendon this week, which I don't think is going to happen, Brisbane could jump to first.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide on 64 as well. They are looking very, very shaky. But they are leaning more than that Pisa Tower.
Well, do you know in the 1980s they secured that? Anyway.
Yep. Anyway, well, you haven't secured third position. Melbourne had their win against Hawthorn, a very brave Hawthorn, I would say. They were very, very good on the weekend. And that's your top 4 locked in. And in my humble opinion, J-Dog, it's going to stay that way. So that's going to be the first week of finals. Collingwood play Melbourne, Port Palais, Brisbane.
No movement.
No movement. There'll be no movement. Here, no movement. Robbo, no movement.
Maybe Port should tank this week so we don't play Brisbane up in Brisbane.
Who do you play this week, though?
We play Richmond.
You're not going to tank.
Well, maybe we should, because I don't. Do you want to play Brisbane in Brisbane?
Any club, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, bullshit.
Okay. Carlton again. Geez, they just scrape in. The second week in a row they've scraped in. Oh, frustrates me. But good on them. 54 points. St Kilda 52. Great win against the retirement home of the Geelong Football Club. The Sydney Swans, good win. GWS, great win. Everybody had a smile on their face when Essendon lost by 120 plus? Let's just go 120 plus, round it off. Western Bulldogs, hold your heads in shame, people. I can't even believe there's still a chance to make finals on 44 points. Essendon to 44 as well, too. Geelong are out of it. Richmond are out of it. Adelaide, there's only one thing that I can say when it comes to Adelaide, J-Dog.
Absolutely, the Crows were robbed. Right in front of me. Right in front of me.
Right in front of everybody. They were robbed. Absolutely robbed, they were. I know you're laughing, but that was a shit effort by that umpire. I'm sorry. Fremantle 36, Gold Coast. God, that could have been anything. But now we've got a new coach, which we'll get into shortly. Hawthorn, the best 16th placed team I think the AFL has had in a very, very long time. West Coast, I don't know what you're thinking. And North Melbourne on 8 points as well, too. So I think like the top 4 is finished. What about the bottom part of the 8? Any changes you can see, Mr. Wallis?
I could see... Oh, no, they're stuffed. They've stuffed themselves. I was going to say I could see West Coast losing, but then North will just lose as well. Like, they've stuffed themselves.
They have stuffed themselves. They played it beautifully for 23 weeks.
I'm going to say...
You ruined it.
It's still alive, Peps.
It's
still alive.
What's still alive?
Richmond could still finish 9th.
Yes! Oh, you know what we'd do if that happened? Oh, we'd be wooing all the way to just...
It's on.
It's on. Operation 9th is on. I said Richmond wouldn't make finals, and I'm looking like a genius now. I also said Collingwood wouldn't make finals at the start of the year. I'm looking like a fool on that one. But I reckon top 4's done. The only thing that I could see is if GWS have a good win this week against Carlton, they can get that second home final, which would make it very, very interesting. Could you imagine if it was a battle of the bridge?
Oh.
Exciting times. So there's the ladder. For the second last time this year, we'll be looking at that. Next week will be the final ladder for the season. Then we are heading into a massive round of finals football action. Hey, J-Dog, journey to the draft. Our boy, Jacob Grant, want to give you a heads up on that one as well, too. He's been invited to the state combine this year.
Oh.
Yes, he has. So our great man, Jacob Grant, playing for the Dandenong Stingrays, has been invited with 55 players from all around the country will be going to the state combine to test their athletic prowess in front of recruiters from virtually every single club to hopefully get picked in the 2023 AFL draft. So we are pumped for it. Spoke to his old man today, BG's Baron Grant. He is an absolute superstar, and he is more nervous than his son right now. So good luck to him from everybody here at Lace Out to Jacob Grant for the journey to the draft. All right, big guy. What would you like to get into next? You can call this next one. What do you want to do?
No, let's do spin the magnets.
Spin the magnets. Alrighty. So let's get into some magnets. Now, for the people who haven't heard the magnets are you're either getting dragged or you're actually getting 3 votes. So 3 votes is obviously for the good things that have been happening on the weekend. And for the bad things on the weekend, you are going to get dragged. All right. What would you like to start with, Mr. Wallis? Drag or vote?
Let's go drag.
Let's go drag. All right. Are you there, Ron? Ron, are you there?
Helios Ellingworth on! Bloody weak as piss.
All right. Let's get into the drag side of things for this weekend's round of football, round 23 style. Okay. First of all, Sam McClure from 3AW. You are a toss bag. For you on Sunday to say that only 40,000 people would less than 40,000 would turn up for the Melbourne Hawthorn game, don't you look like a big flog, mate? Because over 50,000 turned up for that BCNA game between Melbourne and the Hawks. So just because you're a talented little redhead who hides behind a trade whisperer on Twitter, don't go picking on teams because they think that you might not get crowds, and only the big boys do. 50,000 on a perfect Sunday between those two teams, absolutely sensational. So
How many pets turned up?
No pets. But I did see someone turn up with a dog the week before. Essendon and the Western Bulldogs. Now, this is the worst loss for either of these clubs in a long, long time. J-Dog, whose was worse?
Essendon's.
Essendon's was
Yep.
worse?
Yep.
Why?
Completely non-competitive from the bounce.
Yep.
And it's 20 years now. Coming up to 20 years without finals. Without a finals win.
21st birthday shoot.
Yeah.
Not winning a final.
Yep.
And did you see the GWS banner?
I did.
How good was it that they haven't won what? They haven't played final? No, they haven't won a final in their entire existence. That's just, and they came out and smashed them. But that was putrid by the Western Bulldogs. Like that, you sat there and you were looking at the phone and refreshing, going, "It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen." They couldn't, could they? I don't know if it was more like West Coast aren't going to do it, but they went and did it. How they went and lost to a team that has been putrid all year on their home deck, absolutely disgusting. And I'm hearing it here now. Charlie Keegan reckons the Bombers will win the flag from here. Fang Ali reckons the fucking Bulldogs by a mile, and that's what he exactly wrote. But yeah, they were just absolute. Dodoro must have photos. He must have those photos in a one of those locked boxes in the banks that you need 2 keys to get into, because how he's kept his job for so long, like everybody else is gone at that club. They've even wanted to change the name and they haven't got rid of him. He's recruiting his poo.
Lots of lists.
They need to make changes, mate.
Lots of lists.
Oh, lists. Last one. And I've just said it a moment ago, J-Dog. West Coast. What a win. But just like gambling, what will it really cost you?
Yeah, this is the thing, because I can't understand Western Bulldogs.
I can't understand Western Bulldogs.
I don't understand how a list can be so electric and be so off, and to be beaten by the bottom team when your finals is really on the line. Like, they could have secured that. They probably have because of the other losses, but they could have secured their spot hook, line, sinker.
They could have, but they haven't. They haven't. And that's really disappointing when you look at what they could have done and what they could have delivered. And
tell me, what Western Bulldogs supporter did not have that penciled as a win? There'd be zero.
No one even had them close.
Like, over here in Marvel, their home deck outside of Ballarat, to roll over in a dog term, it was terrible.
It was putrid.
I don't understand Beveridge's coaching. I don't think people have understood Beveridge's coaching for years now.
It doesn't make any sense how. Look, they have got a talented list.
No doubt.
But how they serve that up on the weekend, there is something wrong. Like, you talk about Melbourne when they lost by 186 to Geelong. Like, think of the margin.
Yeah.
All right? I would say that loss is just as bad because it stood for absolutely nothing. And Melbourne had a shit list. They've got a really good list, and they are...
They're just bipolar.
I don't understand it.
Complete bipolar.
Yep. Some changes need to be made. And like Rowan Smith left, and apparently that's caused some angst. They lost Stephen King, lost Ashley Hansen as their assistants. You keep bringing in new people, but Bevo, I just think that there's got to be a time. I think he's been there, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 9 years he's been there.
This is the team that played in the grand final
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It's nuts.
It's nuts. But yeah, that was pretty brutal seeing that. But even West Coast, like, what's it really cost you? It's cost you number one. It's cost you, like I said, holding the rest of the league at ransom to say, you know what? Here you go, boys. If you want this number one pick, what are you going to offer? Now they've got nothing. Now they've got a number 3 pick. Because if Mackay goes over to Essendon, which is everybody's saying on mega bucks, they're going to get a first-round compensation pick after their first pick, which will be 1 and 2. So they've literally dropped, I would say they've dropped 2 spots in the draft, plus how many draft picks by cashing in that draft pick would they have picked up? I reckon they've lost 2 top 3 draft picks out of that completely.
Yep.
Absolutely pathetic. But you know what, J-Dog? At the end of every rainbow, there's a pot of gold. But in case of the AFL, when it comes to the magnets, we're always going to be handing out
3 votes.
Let's get some 3 votes. And I've got some 3 votes to give out. Righty-go. I just mentioned it a little bit earlier. The BCNA game. Pink Lady was back and bigger than ever with 50,000 people attending. There were just pink beanies everywhere, pink scarves everywhere. It was beautiful to see the Melbourne Football Club and the BCNA for highlighting such an important cause and continuing to do so for over 25 years. So that's magnificent to see that. St Kilda and GWS, by goodness, they are playing cracking footy. We've spoken about it before throughout the year as well too. Both lock in final spots, and they're playing the type of footy, I think you mentioned it, that is going to cause problems for teams inside the 8. And top 4, I reckon. Damien Hardwick to the Suns. Finally, they will be the biggest show on the Gold Coast. Well, 6 years, apparently $1 million a year. He reckons that 80% of the team that they've got running around now will make up their first grand final premiership team. I'm so pumped for it. I know Tommy Roker, he has not... He's literally bought shares in Kleenex because that's how excited he's been over the last 2 days while that announcement went live. Like, he doesn't need you, Pawn. Tommy Roker needs just to watch the replay of the press conference, and that'll do it for him. But that was absolutely mind-numbing what that's going to do. So it's awesome. Geelong, it's the end of an era. Now, yes, they lost on the weekend, but I want to put this in perspective. They've got a record that many teams would dream to have. They've only missed finals once under Chris Scott. Finally time for a rebuild that we've been waiting for, but they have been sensational as a club. Like, tell me, if you're a Geelong supporter, we've spoken about heartbreak, we've spoken about loss that lots of our clubs, both of ours, have gone through for years, and this mob just keeps serving up finals appearances, prelim appearances, grand final appearances, and flags. They've been absolutely sensational. So, yep, they're going to be making some changes. A lot of those over 30 players will have to move on next year. I know Dangerfield's still going around. Hawkins will still go around. But there's a few others that are going to fall off the edge of the cliff.
There won't be one club who wouldn't love to have a third of their success.
I tell you what, I know one in red and black who would love a fingernail of success that they've had. And last, I don't know if anyone has actually seen this one, and I'm going to put a link in the show notes and also the description in our YouTube page. But the AFL documentary on the Demons 2023 AFLW Premiership. It was really well done to the AFL Studios team who put that together. A great insight into the players and the club during, leading up to, and on grand final day as well too. It's really, it only goes for about 19 minutes, but it's really, really well put together. And each of the people who represented the club and themselves was awesome. So really well done. So that is my magnets. That is who's been dragged, and that is who's got the 3 votes for round 23.
Lovely.
Alrighty. J-Dog,
Yes.
you know what I love about footy?
What's that?
Bags, we love it when they kick 'em. Bags.
Can I just say
Yeah.
to listeners,
Yeah.
last week we got a copyright strike on our YouTube video. We're still learning. We are learning these things. We have gone onto YouTube if you haven't been.
The algorithm.
We're still learning, and we did get a copyright strike. So now Peps and I are gonna have to go back and create our own music because we copped a copyright strike.
Yep. So if you we normally have something around the lines of when you leave me now, or
Here comes
when
the
people
money.
retire. We're
Maybe.
gonna have to record that ourselves now, unfortunately. But yeah. Hey, I've got to state this. Bags. Jesse Hogan, 9 versus Essendon. 17 marks he had.
It was good. It was good.
It was. The Hulk was back.
It was good.
Oh, he was good too. But it was even like that was wrapped. I was hoping he kicked the 10, and he had a shot for the 10th and passed it. Mate, you got to be greedy, Hulk. Got to be greedy.
Take it on.
He took the contract to Fremantle. You got to be greedy. Hey, and Nick Larkey again, another 6 versus Richmond. Could you imagine if Nick Larkey played in a team that had some success? I think he's 4th on the Coleman medal for the team that's second last.
Yeah.
He's a gun. I love him. Absolutely love him. He's just a freak. Freak.
Well, who knows? They might be able to do something at draft time next year. Get some support around him. Who knows?
Oh, you reckon?
Clarko will be back.
No doubt.
Well,
All right, big guy. It's time for the big one. Big one. It's we still haven't got a name for this segment yet. So if you've got one in the chat skis, throw it at skis. But it's the main talking point. We're just going to go. We're going to call this one today CEO, not CEO for the day. We're going to call it.
Do you want to start there, or do you want to start on our take on the weekend and the controversy?
Well, okay.
Because we did get messages saying, "Boys, what do you think? What are you going to talk about on your show?" So I kind of feel like we have to sort of talk about it, Peps, a little bit.
So I reckon we just call it the Crows were robbed, because they were. I was in the car driving when this occurred, and to hear it live, it was just like, what has happened? Like, what has happened? Like, on the radio.
Absolutely, the Crows were robbed. Right in front of me. Right in front of me.
That's never going to get old.
Never.
And then when I went back and watched exactly what happened, they were robbed.
Peps,
They were robbed.
can I? I'm not one for making big declarations like you, like Collingwood not making the 8. Anyway,
Okay.
my declaration is that is the most horrendous decision I have ever seen in my history of watching AFL.
What about VFL?
Well, I don't. This is an AFL podcast.
Okay, well it is. But do you go back as far as there's two of them?
The
Was Harms? Was the ball out? Or was it in? And the second one, there's actually probably 3 of them. The second one, did Libba's goal go through in the 1997 prelim against Adelaide?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And the other one, which was the 2002 AFL Grand Final, did Anthony Rocker's set shot go through when they called it a point?
Post high, yeah.
Mm.
No. So this is the biggest because we have the technology.
Do you know what this is like? This is like a criminal going to court. He's got the shooting gun, but because they forgot to identify them correctly or read their rights, they got off. He did it, but they got off.
Peps.
Yep. What about the 2018 showdown? Did Jenkins hit the goalpost?
It did, but this is still bigger. This is the biggest thing I've ever seen.
It is big. It was massive. It was
so
massive.
Peps.
I'm looking at the chat now. Everybody's just going like Jules Julio's going nuts. Davey Salt's going nuts. Craigie Jones is going nuts. Tory Williams is going nuts. Everybody is going nuts about this one because it's the first time in a long time that I've seen something happen where it's so clear that it was wrong yet they couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, it is. It's the one thing across probably all the AFL that we're all united on.
That umpiring is shit.
No. This is the biggest rort in the AFL.
Yep.
Like, we have our teams, we have our motives, but this is the one thing we all go, the Crows were absolutely robbed.
Robbed.
But Peps, there is a wider implication to this, and that's probably the serious nature of this conversation, and that really is around. There's obviously betting implications on this one here. Lots of people would have lost money, and there's sponsorships there. There is also financial rewards for making the 8 that you get by just being there. There are sponsors that are attached to these. There are contract clauses. There are players who have contract clauses to this sort of stuff up by the AFL. I do feel sorry for the umpire because the AFL basically had pinned it on him, which is fair. But what recourse does the AFL have? They can't just reward Adelaide the win because there's still 2 minutes to play.
So I would say that goal umpire is the AFL version of Joe the cameraman.
I was thinking the same thing.
He just got hung out to dry. So they've had a bit of a think about this. And I was really fascinated to hear what all the different footy shows said. How would they do it? How would they handle it, etc. You can't review every point. I get that one. I know they review every goal because they've got an opportunity to go back.
Yep.
I like Jared Wheatley's take on this, and it's pretty much when it comes to the NHL, if they're not too sure, play continues. And then when there's a stoppage, they then go, halt, we found it was actually a goal or a point, and then they take it back to where it goes, and then they restart the clock at the time that it should be. So they add the time back on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for those ones, especially for something like this wasn't like a straight point we get, but this was something that on the second review, you saw it straight away go, it hasn't missed anything. It's missed everything, sorry. It hasn't hit the post. They've got it wrong.
Yeah.
All they needed to do is go, field umpire, next stoppage, stop the clock, tell them that it was actually a goal. We'll go back to the centre of the ground.
Yeah.
We'll put the clock to 1 minute and 7 seconds, I think, or 1 minute 17 or 1 minute 7 to go, and we'll go from there. I think that's the only way that you can do it. Or you just scrap the whole thing.
Because it smelt funny the instant it happened because not one player was resetting for a kick in. Not the Swans, not Adelaide. They were all thinking it's a goal. They knew it was a goal. Peps, you've played football. You've played 300 plus of the wonderful game.
377.
You know when the ball's hit the post. You know when you've kicked a goal and when you haven't kicked a goal.
Oh, mate. If you've played football at suburban grounds, when you hear the ping of the ball, the leather against the steel pole, you know it's hit.
Yeah.
All right? You don't have to be an idiot.
Now, the umpire did have... It was a hard thing because it did curve inside the pole.
Yep.
I think he was probably in the best position to call it. He just got it wrong, but I just think it's just such...
It's such a big penalty, isn't it?
It's so cruel. It's just cruel.
And the other cruel aspect of it, and we don't take this into account, is that he's standing behind a raucous crowd.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have even heard it.
Home crowd.
Yeah, he wouldn't have even heard the ball hit. Now, I like Matthew Nicks come out and said, you know what, we probably gave it away in the first or second quarter, etc. I like what he said, but his team had the right to come back all the way to get to that situation. They fought. Mind you, they did kick 4 goals 8 in the last quarter. So, but they still got that opportunity. They did everything right. They've won the game and they've had that taken off them because of a rule that really doesn't sort of make sense.
It sucks.
Could it be that it's a goal until we can prove it's touched?
It sucks.
Rather than the other way around?
It just sucks because the AFL come out Sunday and said, we made a mistake, we did it, but we're not going to change anything.
No.
It just sucks.
They can't change it now. They're going to have to do it at the end of the season because the whole process and the whole, it could happen in a final or it could happen in a grand final. Well, there's no reason why it can't. It might not even be at the final siren. It could be at quarter time. It could happen anywhere throughout. Remember Tom Hawkins hit the post, and this is where this all started back in 2009.
9, yeah.
When 2009, where he hit the post. but they gave it in. It went off. It was like the ball of the century. It just turned at right angles off the post, and they gave it to him.
Yeah.
So that made us start to think, well, the Crows were robbed through bad umpiring, and I reckon one of the reasons why is that there has not been a head of football at the AFL since Brad Scott went to Essendon. So we had a bit of a think about it, and we thought, okay, what about if we were head of football for the day? Okay. So what I wanted to do is, Jamie, if you were head of football for the day, and you can literally change anything you want when it comes to the AFL. So people in the chat, people on the YouTube channel, put them in your comments. If you could change anything you want when it comes to the AFL for a day, and it stays, what would it be? Would you like to start?
I like to start.
You can start.
Controversial.
Go for it.
6 umpires.
Why?
I am a big fan of having. I would go 2, 2, and 4. Hang on, that's more than 6. 2, 2, and 2.
Okay. 2
in the forward line, 2 in the centre, 2 in the back line.
Okay. Tori just says, get rid of the umpires. So you're in disagreements there. All right, 8 umpires. All right, interesting.
No, 6.
Oh, sorry,
6 umpires.
6.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Red card.
Okay, the cards.
I think the cards need to be a thing played.
Yep. Would you just have red?
No, I'd give red. Just red. Straight red.
Straight red.
Straight red.
So you're off?
Yep.
Does that mean that they're automatically out for the next game?
No, just 5 minutes. Have it.
5 minutes?
Yep.
It's not really a red. That's a rotation.
Oh, well, maybe yellow then red then. You've changed your mind.
What's it for, though?
I want it seen for, well, just whenever the umpire feels like they have to get a yellow card. Go have a cool down. Red is concussions. Red is concussions. Red is when you've physically injured someone and you've got them off. Red card.
Okay, so if you're looking at something like the Andrew Gaff,
yeah, that's a red card. That's a red card.
Tom Stewart on Taranto, red card when he ran past and just elbowed him and put him in the next week.
Red
what
card.
About Harry Rowan on Jeremy Cameron? Would you red card?
No, fair play.
Otherwise known as just a card for that redhead. Right.
No, fair play.
Okay.
No.
Fair
so that's
enough.
one of them.
Yep.
They're the only. Oh no, I got one more rule.
Yep.
Because the rest I haven't got rules. They're just things. I want to see draws.
Yep.
No longer a thing. What I do want to see is penalty shootout.
Ooh, okay, I like it. All right, so from how far and where?
I want from 50, and I want it to be a game of donkey. I want it like that.
I don't mind the penalty shootout, but you know where I'd go?
Where?
30 metres straight out in front. And you watch how many people seize up. 30 metres in front.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I just want a penalty shootout.
I don't mind it. I don't mind the penalty shootout.
Anyway, they're my rules.
They're your rules.
What do you got? What's your rules?
I've got a couple of them at the moment. So a couple of them that have come up is from Tori Williams, just get rid of the umpire dissent rule. Well, they sort of did that on the weekend. I don't know if anybody saw Maynard go absolutely burko. Craigie J, love what he's got here. Pull the GF from the G. It's a disadvantage to interstate teams that no teams can play at the G until finals. Okay, I'll take the last line out, but he has got some merit there.
I agree.
Yep, cut a minimum of 4 teams from Victoria. Okay. Rightio. Get rid of umpires. That's about it. All right.
Oh, there we go. Tori's saying go the other way. Anything goes through the posts.
Well, can you just let me get back to mine? I think she's get here.
You get through to yours.
Well, she's got to count anything that goes through the middle of the goal to be 6 points, even if it's touched inside the goals.
Do away with it. Do away with the rule.
Touched, I don't know about, but I'm sort of leaning on that too. So, I actually have as my CEO rules for the day. Here's the first one. Goalposts. All right? If it hits the goalpost and goes in the goals, it's a goal.
Yep.
If it hits the goalpost and goes back into play, play on.
AFLX rules.
Yep. And if it goes through the points, just a point. That doesn't change.
Okay.
It's only if it goes through the big bits.
Can it hit the point post and bounce in and be a point?
If it hits the point post, that's still a throw-in.
Okay.
Okay. So those rules don't sort of get affected. They're pretty
Right.
simple.
Right,
If
yep.
it's on the full, it's out. Okay.
Yep.
I like those ones. All right. No more prior opportunity, because prior opportunity is an absolute joke now. You get tackled and players hold the ball to themselves and fall on the ground. There is no rhyme or reason why they have to move the ball on, and it's just causing more stoppages. If you get tackled and you're holding the ball to yourself and go to ground, that is holding the ball.
Oh, so you're saying you want it basically like touch football?
I basically want, if you get tackled, you've got to get rid of the ball. Don't hold it to yourself.
Oh, I thought you were meaning potentially get rid of the rule and players can do what they want to do.
Nope. So if you get tackled, you've got to get rid of it. Don't hold it. That's it. All right. And if you make an attempt, that's gone as well too. The number of times people have been tackled and drop the ball and they don't even get close to their foot and they go, oh, they've made an attempt. I'm sorry. If you're not good enough to get it on your foot, you've dropped the ball. It's a free kick. All right.
Okay.
Hands in the back. Get rid of it. Go back to the old rule. Hands in the back used to be the forearm only. Got to go back to the forearm because this is causing too many issues now where players are diving and you can actually monitor that. You can't monitor that. What's a push and what's a brace? Like what's a bump and what's a brace? So go back to the old school. You got to use your forearm and not your hands in the back.
Okay.
That would make it a lot easier to umpire. There's no more subs. So we get rid of the sub, 5 on the bench, and if you lose one, too bad, too sad. If it then comes to 5 on 4, big deal. That's the way it rolls.
So you're saying roll back the rules 2 years?
Just roll back the... No, they went from 4, then they brought in a sub, because theoretically they can do that now anyway.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they can't leave that person on the bench and just let them roll. But I just think that the sub, we're not soccer, just no.
So just go back to 5.
Just go back to 5 on the bench, that's it. And if you lose 1 or 2, too bad. It's a game of attrition.
Are you also looking at...
Because you know what the sub is to me? It's a participation medal.
Are you also looking... Oh, it's also a players come back from injury, but are you also looking at then the interchange rotations?
Same. No, don't increase it.
So leave them at whatever it is now,
75.
What is it?
75?
75, there we go.
70? Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
90, 75, I don't know what it is these days.
I don't care what it is, but just leave it as it is. You just get an extra player.
Okay.
All right. This one's a bit controversial, but let's be honest, it's about that right now. The man on the mark. Okay, so at the moment, it's the stand rule.
Yes.
Which I'd just get rid of the stand rule. I can't stand it. It's a blight. It's just crap. Because the player goes off the mark and he has to stand there and watch. Because once again, the umpire is making the decision whether they can move or not. So I'd say just get rid of that altogether.
Get rid of the man on the mark.
Pardon? No, the man on the mark, just get rid of stand.
Okay.
If they're not going to get rid of stand, if a player's having a shot within 50 and the player's standing within 50, he can move. Because I don't know if you saw the one on the weekend. No, I can't remember which game it was. It was, I think it was Jeremy Cameron and Maynard. Maynard was on literally standing there, and Jeremy Cameron did his whole big run out to the arc onto the left-hand side, and he had to stand there as he ran past him.
Yes, I have seen that a few times.
It looks stupid, and it is stupid. So you stand there, but you're allowed to move if it's inside the 50.
Okay.
Okay.
Not too confusing for players to know when inside, outside. They get it wrong now.
No, it's simple. It's inside 50, you can move.
Okay. All right.
Simple as that. The last kick between the 50s, just out of bounds. It's just out of bounds. Because most of the time, that's when the insufficient intent, and don't give me you know what insufficient intent is. Do you know what the word intent means, umpires? You don't know what's going on inside my mind, whether I deliberately wanted to make the ball bounce at right angles, 45 metres from the boundary. It does not work that way.
Peps, we made a rule. We're not going to object to each other's questions here. I know that.
Mm.
But do you feel that's where we are now anyway?
Yeah, that's where I think we are. Just make the rule official.
Just make it official. Okay.
Make it official, all right? And no more ruck nominations. That goes completely out the window as well too. 2 people go up for the ruck, and if a third one goes up, free kick. Simple as that. Because I've been watching games where the umpire, instead of just throwing the ball up and letting any 2 people, they're waiting for the 2 lumbering giants who are 40, 50 metres away to jog in, and then they go, Max, Braden, and then they throw it up. Just throw it up. That's the issue with the game. There's too much stoppage because the rules causing constraints around
All
it as
right.
well too. So there's that one there. The other one, which I know won't get any traction, but the one I don't like is when the fullback just runs out of fullback. You want to run out of fullback now? You got to kick the ball yourself like they used to, because that's a skill in itself. But this is whole running straight out of fullback. I
Okay.
don't like it. And if you speak to a lot of people, they will like that. I also have a change I want to make to the Brownlow Medal.
Okay. So we're moving beyond the game now. We're going into other
We're going
things.
to the Brownlow Medal.
Okay.
All right. Because I reckon since maybe Scott Wind.
Oh, you're going back now.
I'm going back. When was the last non-midfielder to win it? Exactly my point.
Probably, yeah, I can't think of one.
So this is what's going to happen. The umpires at the moment give 3, 2, and 1 votes. Correct?
Correct?
Right. They're now going to be giving 3, 2, and 1 votes, but they have to give 3 to a backman, 3 to a midfielder, and 3 to a forward. Twos and
Okay.
ones. So they're going to be giving 3 sets of 3.
3 sets of 3,
3 sets of 3.
3 sets of 2, 3 sets of 1.
Yep. So here's a perfect example, right? The GWS game on the weekend. Tom Green had, I think, 39 touches or 40, but Jesse Hogan kicked 9. Who are they going to probably give it to?
But
Probably Tom Green.
we're talking
Jesse
about
Hogan
half, we're talking about half the
getting
field
votes.
getting votes, Peps.
Yep. Another example was in the Melbourne Hawks game. Melksham shut out Sicily virtually for the entire game. He should be rewarded for that, but he won't, because it'll be some midfielder getting all the votes. So they give 3 threes, 2 twos, and a 1. So there, maybe Adam Goods was the last one to roll it out, I think, when he won his first one, 2003. All right? So what happens, though, is throughout the year, they count up the 2s and 1s, and that's an ongoing. You know who's got the 2s and the 1s from every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that goes all the way to Brownlow night. So on Brownlow night, what's going to happen is you're going to see Jamie Wallis has got 38 votes.
Already coming into the night.
27. Chris Pepper's on, yep.
Yep.
And then we normally would go 3 votes for every game, but those 3 votes would be the 3 sets of 3. So they go 3 votes, Jay Dunstall. 3 votes, Mark Rasciuto. 3 votes, Jay Wallis. And it just means that people like Charlie Curnow, who's dominated this year, like he's won games virtually off his own boot, but he won't get the 3 votes for that. Nick Larkey kicked 6 on the weekend, but he won't get votes because it always goes to the midfielder, because that's what they see. So personally, I think they need to give votes for every part of the ground.
Okay, it's making me uncomfortable.
That's
So
what this whole thing is about.
it might mean it's okay.
This is what it's all about. And here's the last one too. When it comes to the Brownlow, and this is probably the biggest one, the award is normally given to the best and fairest. Drop the fairest. It's just the best.
Just the best. I don't mind that one.
Because of all of the controversy now with whether it's the sling tackle, dangerous tackle, anything concussion related, bump related, etc. There are incidents that people are getting rubbed out for, which really they shouldn't. It could be just the other person that's caused it. Now, we know that there's sling tackles that do cause damage. We get that. But there have been a lot of things that people have been rubbed out for that are minuscule, that like the mandatory week.
Yeah, the standards are higher
So
now.
the standards are a lot higher. So it literally works like this. There's no best and fairest. It's just best. You get votes. And if you miss weeks, you miss weeks. Simple as that. Now, in retrospect, I would then go back and say to Chris Grant, here is your Brownlow medal.
Okay.
Because I think what he got rubbed out for compared to what people get rubbed out for now is a lot worse that they get a week for. He was
Correct.
stiff as well too. So I just think that just get rid of the fairest, just keep it the best, because the game is under so much scrutiny right now. It's going to make it harder and harder and harder. And there will be a time where someone, Cripps was the perfect example. He got off when he should have been suspended. He won when he should have been suspended. So they are all of my changes if I was head of football for a day That's a lot we've had to squeeze in for a day that I would roll out. What do you think?
All right, I've got a couple more to add on.
Is that? Oh, go for it.
I want to have more on-ground cameras, whether it's GoPros or there's something we can put on players. I want that. I want to see a ball coming in. I want to see player movement on the ground. I want to be more in the game. I don't know how it happens, but that's what I want. The next thing, Peps, I want the AFL to start rewarding the fans. What I want to see is the AFL start giving golden tickets to 10,000 people for grand final day. So by going through the gates, there's a golden ticket opportunity for 10,000 fans. So to get people to start coming more, 10,000 seats available for the AFL grand final that season through the AFL golden ticket.
And so
rule.
and that's spread amongst all the grounds?
Yes, and it could be under cups. It could be there's a reward. There's a something. There's a something going on.
So I reckon cups would be too hard.
You could find
I reckon the golden ticket is exactly that. When you go in and scan your ticket, you might get a whoop whoop whoop, and you get a golden ticket. Happening.
Just something.
Or you get,
because I think it's
for anybody who
it's,
turns up to a game during the week, they release 15 names who got a golden ticket.
Yep, and because this is a couple of things. You hear old people talk about in the 70s and 80s, and even the 90s a little bit. They say grand finals were accessible for the fans. Now they're not accessible.
It's all corporates.
Now corporate, or you got to have a gold level membership in either MCC or AFL or whatever. So I think that'll bring the crowd, bring the fans back in. Also, I think I've unlocked how to make this work. We have been talking about a National Reserves League for as long as we can remember. Why don't we make game day, bring it back, bring back the reserves, and bring back AFLW on a Saturday?
Perfect.
Oh, sorry, not on a Saturday, but on the same game day experience.
Yep. So do you play like the reserves beforehand and then the senior game?
Whether it's reserves at 10, AFLW or whatever, you're after. Yeah, just make it a thing. So then you actually get to play against other AFL reserve teams, and AFLW get a chop out as well because they get to then be more exposed.
Yeah, there should be more AFLW games before games. I agree with that, and I think reserves games. I love going to it makes people want to go to the footy earlier, and it gives them a reward. You know, I don't care about Captain Colombo, how many backflips he can do before the game, and I don't care about any of that pre-game bullshit. Just give me footy. The best form of entertainment is 36 people running around on a field kicking a ball. That's what we go there for. We don't go for the jungle drums. We don't go for the songs that people play. We don't go for Take Me Home Country Road.
Well, it fixes the problem that a lot of these interstate clubs talk about, and also Victorian clubs talk about, is the difference between the reserves level and AFL level is so great that when the players come up, it takes them 5 games to adapt.
It is.
This way, they play AFL level reserves.
And can I even throw one more before we do a quick wrap up of the games from this weekend? I would scrap the under 18 competition.
Oh yeah,
bring back under 19s for every team. Zoning, do it that way. Because the under 19s, as I know, the Coates League is not what it was 10 years ago. Private schools and so forth are taking over. Just bring it back to under 19s. Get the zoning back in. Do it that way. So they play junior, they play under 19s. They come up through they talk about these NGA academies, etc. They could use that as stepping stones.
Yep. So there we go. There is I think we had a list of something around the 10 changes that you and I would make to the AFL, the game day, and all that experience. So leave us a comment. What do you think about that?
Funny enough, I did forget one, and it's all Craigie Jones has brought this one out, and he says, "What about the draft?" Okay, well, after the draft, I would simply what's happened after this year. We have to go to a draft. We have to go to a lottery system. Just like the NBA, just like the NFL. All that we've got to go to it because at the moment it doesn't work. It's crap.
I'm not against it, but I'm not. But yeah, okay, all right. I'm no Peps. There is no opposition from me. There's no argument.
But I would prefer just something little than an automatic. You get it.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, he meant in regards to your under 19s comp. Yeah, they can still get drafted. They could still get drafted. They just play at a local club, or they play at an AFL club to get that experience, but they still can be drafted and move to other clubs. But there might be a discount if they decide to pick one up from their own team. I don't know.
Cool. Leave us a comment. What do you think about those ones there? Add some more.
I know Tommy Roke is saying that the Suns Academy is the best in Australia. Well, yeah, that's great.
This year?
Next year. Too bad the team can't do anything on the field.
All right, wrap up.
All right, 1 week at a time, J-Dog. Let's have a look.
The games.
Let's have a look at the games from the weekend. Collingwood versus Geelong on the Friday night. Collingwood versus Brisbane. Thoughts, feelings about that one?
It ticks both columns. You do not want to play Brisbane at home, and Collingwood are looking shaky.
They looked really putrid, I must admit. I think Collingwood...
No Dacos.
It's not even that, J-Dog. I've got a feeling Collingwood are really reminding me of Melbourne from last year. They just look like they've spent all their petrol tickets, and they're not playing good footy at the moment at all. At all. He's not good. Yeah, Robbo, not good at all too. So, but yeah, Brisbane. There's still question marks on Brisbane, I must admit. 100%. All right. Richmond versus North. It was 29 points. Cochin's finished up. Rewalt's finished up as well too. I think Richmond have finished up. I don't really... Their kids I'm not too crash hot on, I must admit. But I do think North have just jumped into the box seat. Like, how awesome are they? They just amaze me.
Do you know what? The game for me was just watching Cochin and what's his name play Rewalt play for the last time for me.
And
the result didn't matter really too much to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think North, they're going to get a number one. They're going to be getting Harley Reid. That's the way I look at it. And maybe Curtin as well too, which is just setting themselves up. Reid, Sheasel, Wardlow, Davies Uniacke. Larky, stop. Yeah. So maybe it's not a good time for you to move on, Ben Mackay, but you've got to do what's right for you. Gold Coast Suns versus Carlton. Carlton by 4 points. Really
great.
Jeez,
Great
I was
game.
cheering the Gold Coast Suns home. They did everything they possibly could, and Carlton won by 4 points. They both kicked the same amount of goals, so it was just bad kicking. Could have been a 4-goal win if they'd kicked straight, but they didn't. And I think that's where Gold Coast are. They're on the cusp, but they're just not good enough.
Yeah. I think Dim will be pretty happy seeing what they put up against Carlton, the hottest team in the AFL.
And I do think Carlton, that's their 9th win in a row.
Correct.
Do you know they've only won 3 of those have been teams in the top 8?
Let's not bring facts into this.
No,
Get on board.
It is true.
Da.
Alrighty. St Kilda versus Geelong. We spoke about this a little bit earlier. St Kilda playing, they're going all right at the moment, the Saints. They've got their mojo back. And osteoarthritis is seeding for the Geelong Cats. They're going to be losing quite a few at the end of the year, unfortunately.
Yeah, they look slow. That's all it was.
Very, very slow. I'll tell you who was slow as well, too, was the goal umpire who gave the win to the Sydney Swans. We've spoken about this one at length already. Western Bulldogs versus West Coast Eagles. The West Coast Eagles won by 7 points.
You've jumped over. Okay, yep, cool. No, it's all good.
I did, sorry. I jumped over the GWS versus Essendon game. I did slip over that by 126 points. I don't know if anyone heard me, but it was 126 points where Big J Hogan kicked 9. And that's what I said. Whose result was worse, the Western Bulldogs or Essendon on the weekend?
Yeah. Look, 25 goals versus 5 goals. Just... It was messy. It was going to get messy like real fast, and that's exactly what they got.
And even with that, the Dogs are still coming in as a worse loss on the chat too. So it's cool. Melbourne versus Hawthorn. Like I said, I was at this game. The Hawks. They've got a really bright future. They are going to be guns, and I've criticised Sam Mitchell many times over this year and last year as well too with what he's been serving up, but. They know how to play footy. They've got a system. Their foot skills were sublime. I was really happy when Newcomb wasn't playing and Lewis, because I reckon they almost might have been the difference. But they were awesome. But Melbourne just did what they had to do. They had to get the win. We were very, very nervous at one stage, but they got the win. They locked in the top 4. And the last game of the weekend, which was Port by 16 over Fremantle, I'll hand that one over to you.
Nothing special. We just won. It was it was nothing special game. Like, it was a really, like, Fremantle just play a really defensive type of football, and Port just had to grind it out. For you guys, Hawks just had a last quarter fade out, and you guys ran to the top.
I don't know whether it was a fade out. I just think that the grind. Melbourne did what they did. They grind, and then they ran away with it. But
can I just say,
go for it.
Overall, other than retirements and stuff like that, it was a pretty lame week of football.
There weren't too many. There weren't too many massive surprises.
The week before was like,
yeah, that was
primo.
That was. But look, even this week is exciting. Like, if you think about this, you've got for 1 week at a time. If we go into our tips for this week, and then we've got the fantail in a moment. Essendon versus Collingwood. Like, that's not going to be. Which Essendon's going to show up? Are they going to redeem themselves? Will Collingwood fall over again? Hawks versus Fremantle. That's no guarantee for Fremantle to win that. Hawks could go again, and we want the Hawks to win, so they drop down another position. That means Melbourne get picked 4. North versus the Suns. I think the Suns will win that. I think North will be playing the Little League that weekend, or they might even get some of the Geelong players to play for them. What about this one? Brisbane versus the Saints. You know, if the Saints win this, potentially Brisbane can drop to 3rd.
Wow, that's what I'm hoping for.
That's what you're hoping for. But that means that you go to 2nd if you win yours, and that means, but I don't think your percentage is going to be good enough to go to 2nd.
If they have to lose. We have to win, they have to lose.
Is the percentage okay, though?
No, I just on points. We go to 70 points. They'll go to 64
cool.
or 60, whatever it is.
Fair enough. Geelong versus Western Bulldogs. Like, after last week, none of those two teams are guaranteed. West Coast versus Adelaide. Well, Adelaide should win that one. Port versus Richmond, which you should win. And if you take 2nd spot, 6 times. Melbourne versus Sydney. I have never wanted to not win a game any more than today. Because if we lose, we potentially play Collingwood at the G. We win, we might have to play Brisbane at Brisbane. I don't want that. And then Carlton versus GWS. Imagine if GWS break the streak of Carlton. It's just an exciting last round of footy, mate. They should just play all the games at once.
Look,
that'd be the best.
Some of the results from this week have just completely stuffed it. We're potentially looking at going into the final round with 3 spots in the top 8, undecided.
And the top 4, not locked in either.
Because those dickheads lost it on the weekend, it's kind of wrapped it up.
Wankers with anchors.
Wankers.
Wankers with anchors. Hey, everybody, your favourite part of the segment before we wrap up the massive week of round 23 reviews. I'm handing it over to my co-host with the most, you know him, Jamie the J-Dog Wallis, for this week's Fan Tale. I can't put a song to it. We'll get copyright strike.
Yeah, I know. We'll work it out. We'll do something. All right. Oh, you. All right. I've literally got one here that this could actually become one of the ones that Peps we actually we might not know the answer to. Oh, no. It's giving it away already. All right. Who am I? Born in Sydney in 1983. She was raised in the Australian rural town of... God, why does this get me? Gunnedah. But moved to Brisbane for her schooling. Her modelling career took off after winning a Dotty magazine competition at the age of 13 in 1997. She has since appeared in many Australian fashion campaigns. In 2006, she relocated to the United States where she signed a lucrative cosmetic contract with Maybelline. She was the first Australian Victoria's Secret model and currently lives in New York with her Yorkshire Terrier called Frankie. She and Orlando Bloom have a son together. ...
Who am I? I like it, J-Dog. I like it. Leave it in
I got another one.
Leave it in the comments if you know who Jamie's fantail is. Ladies and gentlemen.
I got one more.
What?
I got one more.
No.
I got a double. I got a double.
Up. We're running out of time.
All right. All right, born in Scotland 1956, he moved to Australia in 1961, an apprentice iron smelter whose love for music led him to join a band which later became known as Cold Chisel. After Cold Chisel split in 1983, he wanted to launch a successful career, even play with some tin lids and other stuff, and had a song, and something debuted on Irish Hearts in 2010.
Yeah.
I am...
Yeah.
Dot, dot, dot.
All right, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, your lace out round 23 review. Like I said, if you haven't joined us on the Facebook page, give us a like. If you haven't liked us on and subscribed on the YouTube page, do it. It went nuts last week, and we do it for you guys each and every week. Jamie, you have been absolutely sensational. I would have to say this has been your best lace out in recent time, mate. Absolutely awesome stuff. So, round of applause.
Where's the setup?
Huh?
Where's the setup?
You're just awesome. You're an absolute gun. I'm Chris Pepper. He's Jamie the J-Dog Wallis. We are Lace Out. And before we finish up, J-Dog, I've got one simple question for you. How do you, my friend, want your footy?
I want it lace out.
Fantastic. And happy birthday for yesterday, big fella.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Lace Out. Head over to iTunes and Spotify to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And remember, join us every single Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, on our Facebook page with yours truly, Christopher Pepper, and the co-host with the most, Jamie Wallis, giving you your footy how you want it. Lace Out.